Everyone thinks they understand the Last Supper, a final meal, a gathering before what comes next. But that's only the surface, because within that moment is something deeper, something that is not limited to history, but reflects a pattern in human life. The scene itself is simple: a table, bread, wine, and a group of men sitting together. But what it represents is not simple at all. It points to the idea that life is not fixed. It moves through different states. There are moments of clarity and moments of confusion, times when everything feels certain and times when nothing makes sense. These shifts are constant, yet most people mistake them for identity. But what we experience is not who we are. It is only the state we are in, and states are always changing. This idea appears in Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Life moves in phases. Nothing remains the same. And then comes a moment that stands out more than the others. Betrayal. It is often seen as something negative, something that should not have happened. It feels personal, and it feels like something has gone wrong. But betrayal can also be understood differently. It is a moment where something hidden is revealed, because nothing can be revealed unless it is first known. The one who exposes something must already be aware of it. In that sense, betrayal is not random. It brings clarity. It removes uncertainty. It forces something into the open that was previously unseen. In John 13:21, it says, "One of you will betray me." The moment is not avoided. It is acknowledged. And when you look at life, many of the moments that create the most discomfort are also the ones that lead to the greatest understanding. They break patterns. They shift direction. They force change. Without those moments, nothing would move forward. Then comes a statement that is often misunderstood. In John 19:30, it says, "It is finished." These words are often taken as an ending, but they can also be understood as completion. Not something stopping, but something being fulfilled. In Isaiah 46:10, it says, "Declaring the end from the beginning." This suggests that what appears to unfold over time may already be complete in a deeper sense. From this perspective, life is not about creating something entirely new. It is about moving into different states and becoming aware of what already exists. What we call the future is not something we build step by step. It is something we step into, and that shift begins internally. In Mark 11:24, it says, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Not that you will receive it later, but that it is already done. When something becomes real within you, it begins to take form in your experience. Not instantly, but gradually. This is why forcing outcomes often leads to frustration, because it assumes that reality is something external that needs to be controlled. But if reality reflects internal states, then the process is different. It becomes a matter of awareness, of recognizing a state and accepting it as real, and then allowing it to unfold. This brings us to the meaning of the bread and the wine. They are not just elements of a ritual. They represent something deeper. The bread represents life itself. Everything we experience becomes part of us and shapes how we see the world. But the wine represents something deeper. It represents forgiveness. In Luke 23:34, It says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." This points to the idea that actions often come from lack of awareness, from the state a person is in. A person is not defined by a single moment or action. What we see in others is often just a state, and states can change. When you understand this, your response begins to change. You become less reactive and more aware. And that shift affects how you experience everything, because perception shapes reality. In Proverbs 23:7, it says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." Before reaching that final understanding, there is something important to recognize. Most people try to control life from the outside. They try to fix situations, change people, and force outcomes. But the deeper idea here suggests something different. It suggests that change does not begin externally. It begins with awareness. In Romans 12:2, it says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Not by changing everything around you, but by changing the way you see. Because the way you see determines how you respond. And how you respond shapes your experience. This is why stillness is emphasized. In Psalm 46:10, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." Not act more, not force more, but become still enough to recognize what is already present. Because when there is constant reaction, constant noise, constant effort, it becomes difficult to see clearly. And without clarity, everything feels random. But when awareness becomes steady, patterns begin to reveal themselves. You begin to see that events are not isolated, that moments are connected, that what feels sudden is often part of something that has been forming over time. And when you begin to see that, your understanding changes. So the Last Supper is not just a historical event. It reflects a process of change, of revelation, and of completion. It shows that difficult moments can carry meaning, that what appears to be an ending may already be part of something complete, and that what we see on the surface is only a small part of a deeper reality, something that continues to unfold, not just in history, but within us